I'm here in the shrine room in Newcastle Buddhist Centre. So I thought we'd start off, we'll salute the shrine. Probably that's something that a lot of us have done before. You can join in if you want, we'll stay muted. But as was said in today's mail out, in a way, you know, lighting a candle to the shrine, or in this case, just sort of bowing to the shrine, it's like turning to the light. So the retreat theme starts right here, okay, as we salute the light of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So I'll leave a pause between each section, and you can join in if you wish. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Namah. Om Ah Hum. So the dedication ceremony, dedicating this time, this weekend. When we say place, it's not as cut and dried as it often is, as if we were in a field somewhere. But nevertheless, this is a place. So again, just join in as much as you wish. Dedication ceremony. We dedicate this place to the three jewels. To the Buddha, the ideal of enlightenment to which we aspire. To the Dharma, the path of the teaching which we follow. To the Sangha, the spiritual fellowship with one another which we enjoy. Here may no idle word be spoken. Here may no unquiet thought disturb our minds. To the observance of the 5 precepts, we dedicate this place. To the practice of meditation, we dedicate this place. To the development of wisdom, we dedicate this place. To the attainment of enlightenment, we dedicate this place. Though in the world outside there is strife, here may there be peace. Though in the world outside there is hate, here may there be love. Though in the world outside there is grief, here may there be joy. Not by the chanting of the sacred scriptures, not by the sprinkling of holy water, but by our own efforts towards enlightenment. We dedicate this place. Around this mandala, this sacred spot, may the lotus petals of purity open. Around this mandala, this sacred spot, may the Vajra wall of determination extend. Around this mandala, this sacred spot, may the flames that transmute samsara into nirvana arise. Here seated, here practicing, may our mind become Buddha. May our thought become Dharma. May our communication with one another be Sangha. For the happiness of all beings, for the benefit of all beings, with body, speech, and mind, we dedicate this place. So when I was told the theme of this retreat, I was immediately drawn to it. It's so very sort of timely. We're just coming towards the solstice where the earth begins to tilt back into the light in our hemisphere. And also there's the kind of portentous conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter coming about in the next few days as well. So there's a lot happening just about light, and that's not even to mention our kind of desire, as it were, for light to come out of these dark times as well. And I do hope we're all faring well through these times. So the theme for this evening is, first of all, the inner light. Okay, so tonight I'm going to be talking about the inner light. And then tomorrow we'll move on to a kind of more outward looking expression of the theme. Okay. So what I'd like to do tonight basically is talk about a very short and simple teaching of the Buddha. And it's the Pabhasara Sutta. Pabhasara Sutta. And as I say, it's very short, very to the point, but the Buddha says something very strong in it. Basically, to paraphrase it slightly, to condense the usual sort of repetitions. Luminous monks is the mind. and it is defiled by incoming defilements. Luminous, monks, is the mind, and it is freed from incoming defilements. If you don't discern this, you can't develop the mind. If you do discern this as one well-versed in Dharma practice, development of the mind becomes possible. Okay, so that's pretty well the whole sutta. Yeah. Luminous, monks, is the mind. That's the word pabhasara. The mind is luminous. And actually when it's translated as mind, but it's the word chitta, which means heart mind. So I'm going to talk about luminous is the heart mind. Luminous is the heart, monks. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into this, but it's quite a controversial sutta. If you look it up, you'll see that there's different sorts of commentaries on it. People in different traditions have found it difficult to know how to interpret this. I'm going to rely here on Subhuti, who's talked about this. He talks about it in his book, Mind in Harmony. And he uses the analogy of a mirror. Okay. So if you can imagine a mirror covered with dirt. However, if we clean the mirror, then the mirror can give a true picture of the world. It can give a clear reflection. But by cleaning it, it's not that we've added anything to the mirror. We've merely uncovered the hidden potential of the mirror to reflect the world, a potential that was there all along. So that's something like what the Buddha is saying about our heart mind. So he's saying it's luminous, but in some sense that's a potential. It's a potential quality, but one that we can uncover. But the things that get in the way aren't essential to the mind. They're not an essential quality of the mind. So the Buddha's pointing to a quality of the heart mind that is intrinsically luminous and bright. Something, as it were, going beyond the mirror analogy. In fact, he's saying that the mind heart has a light of its own. Now, of course, it doesn't always feel that way. I don't know about you, at least, but for me, it doesn't always feel that way. The heart mind sometimes can feel quite dull. If we're in a kind of more enclosed, ignorant, or kind of self-focused state of mind, the mind feels quite dull. Or the mind might even feel sort of positively dark if we're in a particularly negative state of mind. And yet, even in those states, luminosity is there in potential. And in fact, even in the darkest states of mind, perhaps there's always a glimmer. Okay. There's always some kind of faint glimmer that could guide us out of it, like a small kind of candle flame showing the way out of a vast dark cavern, or like a harbour light guiding us home through a stormy night. In a way, if there wasn't some glimmer of light, even in the darkest sort of states that we can get into, then we'd be stuck in them. There'd be no way out. Okay. So the things that get in the way the reason why we don't always experience the mind as luminous. The Buddha calls these the incoming. That's a particular English translation, obviously. Sometimes they're called the adventitious defilements. That is to say, the things that are kind of added on. So the word for these is kleshas. And classically, the three root kleshas, as no doubt you've come across these, are greed, hatred, and ignorance. But kleshas can be any other kind of unwholesome state of mind. Conceit, or jealousy, addiction, depression, miserliness, sloth. Okay. And in terms of ignorance as well, there's a sort of particular klesha of just that basic kind of ego clinging and the views that we build around that. Okay. So this is the basic stuff of Buddhist practice in a way. We work with those kleshas. But they're not intrinsic qualities of our heart minds. They're just the grime on the mirror. When we free ourselves from these, then the true nature of the heart mind naturally emerges. And the heart mind, or kind of heart minding, if you prefer it as a verb rather than a thing, is pabasara. So as I said, pabasara means luminous or bright. But actually the pa in pabasara is an emphatic. So the Buddha is actually saying to us here that the mind is very bright. The nature of the mind, in fact, is resplendent, is shining, it's blazing with light. Okay. And the Buddha is then saying that we need to know this somehow. We need some sort of understanding of this if we're going to progress. So why would that be? Let's explore. First of all, let's explore what the Buddha might mean when he uses this metaphor. When he talks about a heart mind as blazing bright. So light, the metaphor of light, it's radiant. Light is radiant. It's a source, but also boundless. So let's just have a look at some of these qualities. What are the qualities of light, basically? Let's start with there. And I'm talking here about physical light. So first of all, light allows us to see. It is clarity. In fact, even the word clarity it's a metaphor that we use all the time, that both has a meaning in terms of literal physical light, but also in terms of understanding. In fact, there's lots of words, certainly in English, just to say, oh, well, I see something, means to understand something, or to have an insight into something, or to be clear about something. So that correspondence between physical light and mental understanding is already, I think, very well ingrained in our thought. It's so ingrained, in fact, that we probably don't realize we're using a metaphor when we say something like, I see. Yeah. So that's one connection. Light allows us to see. And light is connection. Light connects across vast differences. So looking at a star in the night sky, in a way, if we think of the star as something light years away, but if the nature of the star is light, then yes, the source might be this vast distance across the dark. But in a sense, if we think of the star as its light, then the star is actually reaching us. So where we're standing, looking up at the night sky, that's the star coming into the back of our retina, okay, and forming then an image in our mind, and it gives rise to this thought, this recognition in us that there's a star. So in a way, when we're looking at a star, we're sort of in it. We're connected with it. Our apprehension of the star brings us into connection with it. The image in our mind of a star. So light connects across vast differences. Light can also kind of interpenetrate. Okay, so if you imagine rays of light of different colours, say, they can completely cross each other without sort of bouncing off each other, without getting in each other's way. They can completely intermesh. And yet, so they can sort of be connected, and yet at the same time keep their own unique qualities. Okay, so light interpenetrates. Sometimes that image of intermeshing beams of light. Those of you might have come across the image of Indra's net, of a net of jewels in which each jewel is perfectly reflected in each other jewel. So it's an image of complete individuality, but complete interconnection as well. And that image of intermeshing beams of light is sort of similar to that. So another quality of light, well, for us, it gives warmth and it's sustaining. Okay. So physically, we depend on the sun. We depend completely on the sun, not only for the warmth that we might get on a bright, warm day, but also for our food. You know, all the energy that's sort of locked up in food comes from the sun. So again, you could say that, you know, the sun is in your food. If you've just had dinner, there was something of the sun right in that food, locked up in its energy. But for us, yeah, that's sustaining. Okay, we're sustained by light. Light is sustaining. There's no well-being without light. So also, light is colour, or colour. Colour is light. There's no colour without light. So light has qualities. Light isn't just sort of one impersonal thing. Light is multi-chromatic. Light can take different forms, different sorts of qualities. And also just light and colour bring beauty for us. There's that association as well. So now, without forcing the metaphor too much, because perhaps the Buddha was speaking quite poetically when he talks about luminous mind, but we can sort of play around with the metaphor without getting too literal about it, to gain some sense of what the Buddha means here when he talks about the brightly blazing heart mind. So the heart mind, the quality of the heart mind can be to bring clarity, understanding. The quality of the heart mind can connect, as it were, across distances. The quality of the heart mind can intermesh with the qualities of other heart minds. The quality of the heart mind is warming, is sustaining. And the quality of the heart mind is, as it were, multicolored. Okay, it's not just one thing. There are many qualities. And it's a thing of beauty. So then the Buddha tells us that if we discern this, then the development of the mind is possible, then freedom is possible. So why does it matter so much? Well, it seems to me that as Buddhists, we're kind of working with our states of heart and mind. That's what Buddhist practice is. And unless we're very advanced, then effort is required. Okay. And, let's just sort of pause to give credit to ourselves that it's not an easy thing that we're doing. Okay. The forces of darkness, as it says in the Bodhicharyavatara, the forces of darkness are strong. So it's a difficult thing that we're doing. But just let's imagine trying to do this, but if we have in the background a sense of our own heart mind as something just kind of neutral and inert. Okay. So just let's try and occupy that thought for a moment, that we're trying to do this, but the working ground of our own heart and mind is just something neutral and alert. And we might have got that, for example, from the kind of model of consciousness that we've inherited from our own culture, which is sort of basically materialist, which sees consciousness as a kind of just a byproduct of matter. It's nothing of itself. It's just neurons firing. Okay. Or alternatively, we might not so much that, but might just sort of have a habitual view of what our mind and heart is like. If our mind has just always been a bit kind of limited, a bit dull even, then perhaps we just don't realize that it can be any other way. So we just assume that that's the way it's always going to be. That the state of mind that we've experienced thus far in our lives is just the way that's the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be. It's a bit like, we've had, to go back to Subhuti's analogy, we've had a mirror on the wall, but it's always been grimy. And we don't really know what it's for. We don't realize what it's for. Or we think it's just a grimy mirror and there's not much we can do with it. So these sorts of views, they just make the spiritual life even harder work, okay? Even to the point of actually it becomes impossible. That's what the Buddha seems to be suggesting here, that if we don't think our mind has potential, then, where do we even start? It's like we're trying to sort of whip up something out of nothing. And if we're doing that, then it can lead us into sort of leading a spiritual life that just relies on a kind of egoistic effort, a kind of one-sided egoistic effort. It's almost like then we try to paint onto ourselves our own idea of luminous. Okay. So that's one scenario. That's the spiritual life with a rather dull idea of what our mind is. So now let's just try and inhabit the alternative here, which is the idea of doing the work of the spiritual life. So, we're still doing the work, we're still transforming our negative states of mind. But it's with the idea that what we're doing is allowing something to naturally unfold, something that's already there. We're unfolding the light that is already there. We do the work and then something shines through. Now, to me, that feels very different. As I've said, it doesn't mean that there's no work to do. Effort is still needed, but it's the effort of tending to something. So just to switch metaphors for a moment, it occurs to me that it's a little bit like planting a tree, to use another favourite metaphor of mine. If we're going to grow a tree, we need to believe in the potential of the seed. If we don't believe in the potential of the seed and we want to sort of bring a tree into being, then we might, we might go about it trying to construct a tree out of planks and plywood and with nails and screws, okay, rather than the patient work, the kind of work of faith, which is watering and nourishing the seed and clearing away the weeds and so on, and tending to something that's growing. Okay. So let's say, we're in the midst of one of the hindrances, one of those things, one of those bits of grime that gets in the way. Let's say it's a strong one. Perhaps we're really sort of caught up in a kind of gnawing anxiety. Or perhaps we're feeling kind of quite bitterly angry towards somebody. Or perhaps we're just sort of caught up in some horribly egoistic conceit. Something. These things do happen to us. So where's the light? Where's the light? Where is that faint glimmer of the harbour light guiding us home? I don't know about you, but if I'm in those sort of states, then sometimes you can look around and it just seems dark, just seems unremittingly dark. So where is this inner light? Well, the answer is actually that it's right there. It's right there. It's in the looking. It's in the seeing. So even when you're in those states of mind, even if there's some small part of you that at least is potentially aware of the state that you're in, there's the light. Okay. The light is your own kindly attentiveness. It's our own kindly attentiveness. That kindly awareness brings clarity, it brings connection, it allows growth, it's sustaining, it's warm. So with this metaphor of light and dark, you can say the light shines into the darkness. There's always a danger with this metaphor, I think, that you get into sort of quite polarized ideas of the dark is bad or evil and the light is good and so on. From a Buddhist point of view, it's not like that. And in a way, in turning to the light or in developing a luminous, a brightly blazing heart-mind, it's not about turning away from the dark. The transformation that comes about from that quality of kindly attention, that comes about from turning that attention towards the darkness. That is to say, towards the reality in the moment of our own kind of more limited states of mind, our own stuckness, our own kind of painful confusion, and so on. So Carl Jung wrote, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Or to put it another way, to quote Prakasha, who gave a talk on this theme last summer, which seems like a very long time ago, seems like a different age. The way he put it was, our ability to ascend towards the light is in relationship to our capacity to descend into the darkness and transform it. Okay. Our ability to ascend towards the light is in relationship to our capacity to descend into the darkness and transform it. So it doesn't really serve us to be sort of intoxicated with an idea of light, or to be intoxicated with an idea of our own luminosity in an egoistic way. It's simply a matter of turning our light towards the darkness. Patient, kindly awareness of our own experience, whatever it might be. So as Lotus said at the beginning, whatever state of mind you're bringing to this weekend, then just bring that into the light. We illuminate the darkness until the darkness itself unfolds its own light, as it will. And the light grows by illuminating the darkness. So just take your mind for a moment to moments in which awareness comes about. So there's something quite mysterious about these. So perhaps in the midst of meditation, again, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm in meditation and I'm just sort of fairly inside some befuddled or confused or negative state of mind. And then something about meditation, the practice of meditation, turns something and awareness comes into being. It's not that that state of mind exactly goes away, but I become aware of it. And then transformation becomes possible. So there's something that might be in meditation, that might be in the course of a day, it might be just in the course of ordinary life, that suddenly awareness is born. So there's something quite miraculous that goes on here, something quite difficult to explain. And for me, there's something of this symbology of light. This light is such a kind of powerful symbol. I can talk about, we can talk about the spiritual life in terms of awareness and understanding, but to use the language of light shining into the darkness, it touches something very deep, and it touches, those primal sort of moments. So if you think about those first beams of the morning sun dispelling the darkness of light, or a winter sunrise, this time of year we're in now, or very shortly the earth tilting back towards the sun, that light returns, and we know that spring is on its way. The coming of the light. So it's very, in a way, an ordinary human reaction to have a fear of the darkness. Somewhere there's perhaps even a fear that today the sun won't rise. And perhaps even from ancient times, there's this sort of fear that, this winter will never end, that the spring won't come. It's why, from ancient times, we've had midwinter festivals of light where we make light in the midst of the darkness at the darkest time of year. We make light as if driven by a fear that the light won't return. We celebrate light in order to bring about the return of the light. So we can think of what we're doing in meditation, or what we're doing in our spiritual lives in those kind of primal terms. We are turning towards the light. We're bringing about a return of the light. Okay, so in a way, that's all about the luminous mind in its sort of inner dimension. As I say, tomorrow we'll be looking at how our inner light unfolds. What are the conditions by which those moments of light are brought about. There's mysterious times when the light dawns. And we'll be thinking about how that comes into relationship with the world out, the outer world, with other people, with the world in general. How does the blazing heart and mind shine outwards? But as I say, just with the idea of light, of one's kindly attentiveness, kindly attention, just having a sense of that as light. Perhaps just having a sense of those moments of the arising of that attention being something in a way quite magical, or something to be deeply kind of grateful for. And also having a sense of a kind of faith in the power of that inner light. Okay? Having a faith in the power of kindly attention. In this case, kindly attention directed inwards. So if you'd like to get into meditation posture, so we'll just spend some moments bringing kindly attention to our bodies, our inner experience. Kindly attention towards our state of heart-mind, whatever that may be. And just in this moment, being aware of your own awareness. Being aware of your capacity, of the actuality in this moment of awareness, of kindly awareness. Being aware of being aware. And with that, turning our attention to the breath, the mindfulness of breathing. So if it's helpful, counting with the out-breath. Appreciating the breath, but also appreciating our awareness of the breath. Not only can we breathe, but the breathing can be conscious. kindly attention to the breath. So now relaxing the focus away from the breath. So we'll just spend a couple of minutes just being aware of our awareness. So whatever the quality of your attention has been in this meditation, whether it's been bright or dull, or whether it's been jumping about, or whether it's been steady, whatever it might have been like, just having a sense of what it's like to be aware. And reflecting that this quality isn't just an inert function. It's luminous and transformative. We can do something with it.